Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts, Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
This is Chuck Campbell with
Wayne Bledsoe
and
John Baker.
All right, so today, what are we going to talk about, Wayne?
We're going to talk about comedians because we were trying to come up with something that was easy that we both knew about. Of course, you listen to a lot more comedians than I do, but when I was actually looking over the list, I didn't realize how many comedians I know and like and have interviewed.
So many comedians.
It's amazing.
I love comedy. You know, we're veteran entertainment writers, right? And we talk about music all the time. That was our primary interest. And we talked a lot about movies and we talk about actors and all that. And the comedians have just kind of been talked about on the periphery, but we've never really put a lot of focus on them. But I mean, I love to laugh and I love all kinds of comedians. There are very few comedians I don't like at all. I mean, I usually at least have modest interest in comedians. And as an example, in the 7 days since our last podcast, I was on the road driving intensely for 4 of those 7 days, and I probably drove for like 30 plus hours. And I've got satellite radio, and I would say I listened to the comedy channels about 85% of the time.
When we would go to lunch and we would go in your car, every time it was on comedy, not music.
Yep. And I used to buy comedy CDs. Just any comedian would come out, even if I hadn't heard them, I would buy it. I love to laugh. I love all kinds. I love the Tiggers who are just all manic, in humor. And I like the Eeyore comedians who are more, self-effacing and monotones and all of that. I love all types of humor. I love the raunchiest of the raunch all the way to clean comics. I love men, women, any race, any age, any identity. And I mean, I love to laugh. So,
well, the one thing about buying comedy recordings, though, is that typically you're buying a stand-up set.
Yeah.
Right.
And once you've heard it 2 or 3 times, you're probably not going to listen to it again.
That's true for most of them, but there are some that, I just listen to as much as I listen to music just because of the energy. But you're right. I mean, but that was that way with music too.
Well, back in the day when you'd go out and you'd buy an album, it's like you'd have that album and you'd meet somebody or, somebody hadn't heard it and you'd say, you got to hear this, and you'd put on that album.
Right. And I would sometimes make best ofs, and just pull like this bit and that bit from the different ones. But I haven't bought a comedy album in years, so
Probably haven't bought an album in years.
Well, maybe a few, but not many. So anyway, and I don't want to dwell on this, but just I was looking and I've noticed some things the past couple of months about the best comedians and the best this and that, and I saw the 50 best comics and I clicked on it.
Right.
100% male.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, are you kidding? And now I don't know where this list comes from, but it was 50 men. And I think maybe 5 of them were people of color. None of them were LGBT that I knew of. So it's like 45 straight white guys and then 5 guys of color.
Interesting.
But then I saw another one. It was 40 of the best comics. Yeah. Sarah Silverman was the only woman. And it's like, you've got to be kidding me.
Well, I will tell you, my favorite comedian's Wanda Sykes, and I looked at several of those lists, too, to kind of refresh my memory and think about these people. And Wanda, it's funny because on one of them, she came up at, number 10.
Right.
But on most of them, she comes way down toward the end, and some of them didn't even have her on it.
Right. It's crazy. And I saw the 20 funniest TV characters, 100% men. They were all male characters. And it's like, in this meeting, and I understand, most of them would be men just because there are probably more roles, pivotal roles that were male roles over the years. But, this median is like Lucille Ball and Mary Tyler Moore. And I think they had either 2 or 3.
Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers, the Golden Girls. There's 4 characters right there. And for them to just, and I think they had either 2 or 3 of the guys from Friends, which I don't think is a funny show at all.
No,
but 0 of the women. It was 3 women and 3 men. And so, anyway, what I did is I just decided I'm going to write down all the names that come to me. And it looks like you did that too. And you came up with quite a few. I'm impressed.
Tons. It was, well, we were talking about women and, probably outside of the Smothers Brothers, which are probably the first comedians I heard as a little kid, Moms Mabley. We had Moms Mabley albums in our house.
Oh, wow.
And Moms Mabley was hilarious. And, she was like this older lesbian woman that
Right.
that she neshe never put that in her jokes back then.
Right.
Her best thing was the only thing an old man can give me is a young man's phone number. That's what
Well, I like that.
Did they have phones back then?
they did.
Is that from 1700?
Something like that.
But
I
anyway,
don't have any comedians from the 1700s.
I bet there were people telling jokes back then, though.
Well, we've already talked about.
back in
there's
the
jokes in-
Revolutionary War.
Aren't there jokes in the Canterbury Tales?
Oh yeah, Canterbury Tales is hilarious, and so is Candide. I mean, one of my favorite books. It's funny as all get out, but it's not a stand-up routine.
Is it not?
No, it's not.
I heard Paul Revere was like a. That was his big thing too.
Cut it out.
His horse was his
Stop it.
partner. So anyway, so I made a list and I just wrote, and I wasn't gonna think about who was what or anything like that. And I thought I had 36 names. I had written one down twice, and I went back and looked. And of the 35 names I had, 15 are women, so it's pretty close. Yeah. And 8 of those 35 are LGBT in some way, so that was representation. And 10 out of the 35 were people of color. Now that does mean that probably the top group, if I broke it down further, would be straight white guys. But at least it's got the representation that I think is not just fair and not just for representation, but just because these people are funny and I don't understand. And anyway, and I also found that the sweet spot tends to be people in their 40s for me right now. And I think that's maybe because they've had years to polish their things and have their rhythm, but yet they haven't, when some comedians get older, they just kind of do this same shtick and it gets kind of less entertaining.
Well, and a lot of times they lose their edge. I mean, that's the thing is when they're young, when these comedians are young, they'll be foul.
Yeah.
And they'll say things.
And then it comes across differently. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's but then they start having kids. Yeah. And I don't think they want their kids to hear their routines.
Right.
Or they start making movies, that are aimed at kids because they're comedians.
Right.
So it's supposed to be good for kids.
And you don't want to be too super edgy and foul and try to get in the next Disney movie or something like that.
Well, look, to me, the perfect example is Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was foul as all get out and hilarious. And then he starts making all these kids movies and stuff. And it's like,
not so much.
He's not so funny anymore.
Right. Well, that's all right. I mean, it's evolution, and that's just how they cycle in and out. Yeah. And some comedians kind of keep it all along, and some, some just they have a hot 5 years or whatever. Because I was remembering I've kind of cycled out a lot of comedians that I really liked, and I just don't hear them anymore, or I don't relate to them anymore. So it's sort of like friendships. Some of them just last, and you're just bonded, and some of them, it's as long as it seems like a good idea, and then it doesn't seem like a good idea anymore.
Yeah, well, it's also, there are people who are, I consider David Sedaris a comedian, even though he's not.
Right.
He's a writer. He writes basically memoirs.
But he's a speaker, and we've both seen him, live, and he's kind of like a stand-up.
Yeah.
It's not that far removed.
But not always, because a lot of his stuff is really kind of dark.
Yeah,
he comes from a dark family history.
Yeah, right. but a lot of these comedians are really dark too.
Yeah. Well, we both have interviewed a lot of comedians. Yeah. And I would say that of all the entertainment people I've interviewed, they tended to be the most, I don't want to say problematic, but the most conflicted. You would think that they're going to be the funny ones, and some of them are.
Right.
But some of them, it's like you couldn't, pay them $1 million just to get them to crack a smile.
No.
They're just. There's a lot of angst going on there, and so.
Well, I think the really young ones will still kind of crack some jokes with you to try to let you know who they are.
Right.
But when they're established, they're serious as a heart attack. Most of them.
Yeah.
And when I interviewed Bill Cosby, who is like. We don't remember him for his comedy anymore.
No, we don't.
But he was one of those.
He was a comedian?
Yeah. My gosh, his stand-up was hilarious.
Yeah, he was a funny man.
And, when I interviewed him, he was very serious, but he was probably thinking about, drugging some women or something. He was just not funny at all.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I told you about my disastrous interview with Jay Leno.
Yeah.
And how humorless he was, and how it just irritated me, and I couldn't get him off the phone fast enough. Yeah,
Chris Rock was. He was not unfriendly, but he was very serious and to the point.
Is the word. That's what they will be cordial.
Yeah.
but they're not like, they don't really care who you are or how you're feeling today. Let's get to it and be done, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, I think since they work so hard at being funny, I think just being funny becomes work.
Yeah.
So,
and it is. I mean, that's their job.
And I think most comedians, I mean, I'm not saying that musicians I've interviewed are not smart, because some of them are brilliant, but I do think overall comedians are probably more worldly in their knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think that makes them more serious.
Yeah. I mean, if this, I mean, we use humor a lot in this podcast, but if our podcast was a comedy podcast and everything we said had to be funny, I'd be a nervous wreck. I'd be all the time worrying about every single thing I said and try to make a joke of anything we ever said. And that would be a lot harder than just off the cuff being funny when you feel like it.
Well, you know, when I did that, I did like a celebrity stand-up thing here in town, and it was in one way it was great.
Right.
Because I had half the audience was with me and thought it was hilarious. And then I didn't realize, I mean, my entire routine was on gay marriage and religion.
Right.
And the other half of the audience turned out to be half the Catholic Church.
They probably weren't so fond of your set then, I guess.
They were screaming for me to get off the stage because I was as foul as I could be. It was still tough. It's still tough standing up there in front of a crowd of people and just talking.
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine how hard that would be.
Yeah.
Well, how do we want to do this? Because I didn't break it into 3 parts.
You didn't?
But I did go through and kind of label the different types of comedians. So there'll be like 4 or 5 like this and maybe 3 like that or whatever. And I don't see that we're ever going to get through all of these. But,
No.
I mean, I can talk about some of these topics and...
Just start it off, and I'll just jump in because
right.
I just wrote all the comedians that I can think of that I like, and it's a huge long list.
Yeah,
but I don't plan on talking about them all.
Isn't there another page too? I mean, that's
no, it's just this one.
Okay.
It's just this one page.
Yeah, but it's a legal page though.
Yeah,
it's a legal page that goes down to
and
both sides.
Tiny writing. Yeah. Okay.
Are you intimidated?
What's that?
Are you intimidated? Because normally you're the note master, and
He's got notes. Did you see his notes?
I've got notes.
He's got multiple pages.
He knows
I
what
got
he's going to
multiple
say.
pages.
I just know the people I'm going to talk.
Yeah,
with,
you just have names.
Yeah.
What are those names going to do? I can't even read it. Can you even read that? Just looks like some foreign language, not even using the...
I can read it.
It's a very funny language, though.
Yes. It's hilarious language we hear. Well, the first name I wrote down, and it's not because he's my favorite or anything, but I was thinking about comedians who've endured some controversy. And I wrote down John Mulaney, who's 42, from Chicago. I've always liked his past routines and everything. He kind of courted controversy. I don't think people realize that he joked a lot about having an alcohol problem and all that. And it was true and it was real. And he started cheating on his wife, like at the height of his comedy, and started seeing Olivia Munn, and then ended up divorcing his wife and marrying Olivia Munn. And I believe he's been through rehab a couple of times since then. It's kind of not watered him down, but made him just a tad less funny now. I still think he's funny, but some of the things that he did in the past, I always like those, better than what I'm hearing from him now. You know him, right? I mean,
I know him. I'm not as familiar with him. I mean, the dark one he's older than John Mulaney as Doug Stanhope.
Oh, what was his controversy?
Well, no, we were talking about controversy. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was talking about how dark his humor is.
Oh, I've got some of that too. That's a different category.
Okay, that's a different category.
No, John Mulaney isn't really a controversy. I think my favorite John Mulaney bit is he always talks about, because he's kind of small and he looks so much younger than he is, and he talks about this about people thinking he's kind of a kid or just a boy or whatever, and he's going to the subway and he's following this woman down into the subway. And she starts speeding up, and he goes, "Oh, she must hear the subway train." So he starts speeding up, and then she starts going to a full run down to the where the subway would pull up. And so he's doing a full run, and when he gets down there, there's no subway, and she's just turned around, and she's like skittish, like going back and forth, like he's about to attack her. And he goes, "No, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just a little boy," which he said freaked her out even more. But anyway, he's got that kind of stuff. I think that's very endearing.
Yeah. Well, and he's got that line in one of his where he's like, "And I know people think I'm gay because of the all of me."
Well, you talk about controversial. I mean, my favorite controversial the guy that had personal controversy is Louis C.K.
Yeah, I've got him down here too. Yeah,
because I mean, he just says he says the things that nobody else will say.
Well, and he's controversial too because of the sex assault. I mean, all those charges. That's kind of what I'm talking about, coming out of that kind of hardship. But he characterizes, Americans as just lazy, spoiled, superficial, kind of worthless lumps. He does this whole language thing where he's like, blah, blah, blah. He's just imitating how Americans sound when they talk, even though it doesn't even matter what they're saying. But just everything irritates him. But I mean, his charges against him and everything, notwithstanding, he's done a lot of funny things. I remember talking about going to the airport and getting the last Cinnabon at the Cinnabon store and getting the extra frosting, and he just turned it into like this gross sex act of just eating it, like just some slovenly pig.
Well, the thing I always liked about him as a comedian is he's not afraid to be the asshole in the story.
No.
And very often, I mean, he will say something. I mean, and aside from the charges against him, the things that people have said that he's done, which are not good, but not on the level of a Bill Cosby or somebody like that. No. But I like humor that is so uncomfortable that you don't know that you should be laughing at this.
Right.
Which I think is getting rarer and rarer as time goes on.
Yeah.
And that's what I like, is I like somebody that makes me think, and, it's like Bill Hicks. I'm sure you're going to bring up Bill Hicks at some point. But he's sometimes
been dead a while, so no.
You're nobody.
I'm not going back. I'm living in the moment. You know how I am. I don't go back for historical context or anything like that.
But but Bill Hicks was somebody.
He was great. Yeah.
He would bring up stuff about drug taking and how your favorite music was created with people who were on drugs. So drugs aren't all that bad. And he would bring up stuff that just would make you uncomfortable.
Right.
Which I thought was great. And I mean, he was such a brave comedian because he did a tour of the South where nobody thought he was funny. They booked him in. He did a whole tour just to be booked in places where he was not going to be going over.
Right.
And there's some recordings of those shows, and he's saying really funny things, and nobody is laughing, and it's just like you don't know how to react to it. But he was, I mean, he goes another dead comedian. I mean, he goes all the way back to Lenny Bruce as far as somebody who's like
long dead comedian.
Yeah, long dead comedian, died in '67, I think.
Wow.
But I mean, he was prosecuted for obscenity, and you wouldn't have people talking dirty the way they can in comedy now if it hadn't been for him.
Right.
But it's the same sort of thing with Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks was saying things you weren't supposed to say.
Right. Well, I've got a couple like that. I was going to mention Aziz Ansari, but we mentioned him in a recent, just what he had been through and how he has an interesting background. His parents are from India, I believe, and they moved to South Carolina. He said, so they wanted to come to America, so they picked a place with the worst racism and the worst education to come and establish our American lives. But as far as the people who are difficult to listen to, one of them was pretty much Daniel Tosh, who, he's sarcastic and everything, and he hosted Tosh 2.0.
Right.
And he was always kind of pushing it, had the arrogance and everything. But even more controversial than him is Anthony Jeselnik. Have you listened to him? Because
not really. More for me.
I brace myself every time I listen to him. He's like Tosh 0.0, or whatever, 0.1, because he uses misdirection comedy. So you think he's setting up something that's going to be improper, and then he just takes it way further than that. And so I'm always bracing myself and waiting to see what the punchline is going to be. And it's always just as dark as it can be. And he never breaks character. I mean, he's always just like, let's see if I can see anything. I don't know, but he always does make me laugh though. So
well, the thing with like Daniel Tosh that I liked him to an extent. But I always thought there were things I thought were too just mean.
Yeah.
for the sake of being mean.
Right.
Yeah, that's one thing that I can't tolerate a
Yeah.
lot of is if somebody's just mean.
Yeah,
Right.
and I just don't think that's funny. I mean,
Punching down is never a good look.
Right.
well, the one that can do it, and it's like makes me so uncomfortable, is Neil Hamburger. Because he tells like these really awful, inappropriate jokes, and they're not really funny.
Right.
The funny thing is watching the audience. It's like a performance art
Right.
thing is more than a comedian because he's a little bit more like Andy Kaufman.
Right.
And he's great. I mean, when I interviewed him, he was in character the whole time. And
Andy Kaufman.
No, not Andy Kaufman.
Oh.
Neil Hamburger. I never got Andy Kaufman. But Neil Hamburger, he walked around downtown Knoxville one time at the Big Ears Festival
Yeah, I remember that.
and just started making up fake history. And he was hilarious. I mean, it was totally deadpan. He never laughs. He looks like an old drunk that you've pulled up out of the gutter somewhere.
Right.
He's great. I think he's great.
Well, a Jesselnick joke would be something like he was talking about his grandmother.
Right.
And he said she's got dementia now.
Right.
He said, so I stepped in to fix it, and I put a bell around her neck. And the audience was, oh, and he goes, well, you don't even know how heavy that bell was. So it's kind of like, oh, you're treating your grandmother like an animal. But it's not that. It's like he put a heavy bell around her neck. So every joke just goes further than that.
Right.
But it's I think it's funny. I don't think he ever, sometimes he goes over the line, but that's the risk you take. If you didn't go over the line every now and then you wouldn't be nervous at all listening to him. But sometimes it's going to go into like a dead baby territory or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's a funny thing because you're about to get the comedians getting
Oh, he had another one. I'm sorry.
That's
No,
all right.
he had one about taking his friend to the abortion clinic.
Oh,
and he
God.
said, and it was so unbelievable. He goes, I was so bored. I was bored for hours. He goes, do you know how boring the magazines are in abortion clinic?
Oh, my God.
And he said, but then he said another thing about it. There was just so many kids there. He said, but then I realized they were just ghosts.
Oh, my God.
So
And which one
very
is this,
inappropriate. And that's Jesselnick.
Jesselnick.
Anthony Jesselnick.
Okay. Okay. Well, you're talking about how comedians kind of lose it as they get older. As a listener, I'm unable to take as much cruel humor as I used to when I was younger.
Right.
And that's just something, I don't know if that happens universally, but just me as a person, I can still find dirty stuff, but the more cruel, I can't take as much.
Right. There was one, a Sarah Silverman one, that it's like, it's funny, and it's about a dog, though, so it bothers me. She goes, I have a dog. I love this dog so much. She's so pretty, and the way she looks at me. She goes, but she's dying. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 10 years. I don't know, but it's going to happen. And I just can't deal with all that. So I'm going to have her put to sleep tomorrow. And she said, just get it over with. It's just like, everybody's like, oh, and it's a joke, obviously. And that's Sarah Silverman. I mean, that's always how she's been. Like,
Oh, yeah. You think that's... I've always liked Sarah Silverman, but you're always... I mean, comes a point where you're like expecting, okay, this is going to be the worst thing it can possibly be when she gets to here.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Have either of you seen the movie The Aristocrats?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
I'm trying to remember what hers was in that because there were
it's the one joke about someone comes into a theater and says, I've got an act to put on stage. And they say, well, tell me what the act is. And that's where the comedian just takes the ball and runs with it. Right. And she's describing horrible things, but she says, and then my grandmother comes in. I love my Nana. And then she like slides in crap and it's like the most disgusting thing. That's the point of the joke.
I remember she had one of my favorite ones because it was far.
I think my favorite was Bob Saget, just because
he can just go and go.
He
and
was something
so foul.
Oh yeah, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. His and Gilbert Gottfried's, I thought, were the foulest and also the funniest.
Yeah.
But that's a fun movie to watch.
I laughed so hard watching that movie.
And it's the same damn joke for an
it's
hour
all
and a
about.
half.
It's a whole movie about one joke.
Yeah, but it's told different ways every time.
Yeah.
It's the description of the act that is the real.
Oh yeah,
that's where the art is, if you call it art.
I have a grouping called My Favorite Straight Men. If you want to hear that, because there are a lot that I think are probably my favorite comedians. I like Nick Bargatze.
Yeah, I really like Nick Bargatze.
I do too, and he's actually a clean comic. And you don't think about it because he's edgy and he's funny,
right?
And he's kind of weird as perspective is, but and he's from Nashville,
right?
And but he's always funny, and it's always kind of refreshing. You don't have to brace yourself, and you just know. And he's got a way. His flow is kind of. He uses a lot, and he ends so many sentences with "so."
Yeah.
Like so, he'll say something funny and he'll go "so," and the crowd's like laughing and everything. And what did he do? I have so many things that he's done. Oh yeah, he talked about. Of course, he's from Tennessee. His wife's from Tennessee, from the Nashville area. And they had moved to New York, and his wife was pregnant. But they flew to Tennessee for her to have their daughter because he didn't want his daughter growing up thinking she was better than them. Go ahead.
I said Tennessee, we have a real hold on clean comics because we got Leanne Morgan, who's from Knoxville.
Leanne Morgan's from Knoxville.
And Henry Cho's from Knoxville.
Yeah, Henry Cho's from Knoxville. Yeah,
Trey
Crowder got his.
Trey Crowder is
not as clean,
not quite as clean, but he doesn't usually get too foul.
No,
he's just really
he's
political.
very political. Yeah,
right,
but super funny.
Yeah, very funny, and I think all three of them are funny. Henry's is. I've heard most of his best bits. But I still think he pulls it out every once in a while. Leanne Morgan's always coming up with stuff. Funny.
And I think she's getting more popular now because I'm hearing more of her.
I heard she was going to have a sitcom, but I don't know whatever happened to it. There was something that came out like a year ago that said that she was going to have a sitcom.
Well, I remember.
Same for Trey Crowder.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
He had moved
probably
to
the
LA.
writer's strike and pandemic.
Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah, that was one of the things. I interviewed him a few times. I forgot about that, but he was moving to L.A. because he had better shot at developing something. I don't forget what it was they were working on.
Yeah, well, Leanne still lives here, and Henry lives in Nashville.
Okay.
I spent a day with Henry when he was making like a Christian film for Walmart.
Oh,
it was going to be sold.
Okay.
Going to be sold at Walmart.
Well, know your demographic. I guess. Two others I like are Mark Norman and Sam Morril. They're kind of similar. Mark Norman's a little bit edgier. He's from New Orleans originally, but he doesn't do any of the Southern cliches. He doesn't do any Southern anything really. But he's kind of he works a lot into his routines without talking fast,
Right.
So he just keeps it going, and he has a nice flow, and he just keeps you moving along, and he's a bit of a storyteller. I've got others who are more storytellers than he is, but he had one where he was talking with a gay friend of his, and the gay friend was talking about how he loves to flip, so to speak, straight men. In other words, get straight men who aren't really that straight to sleep with him. And he goes, but it's so hard. And Mark says, I don't know what you mean. He goes, no, you don't. It's like you're attracted to these people who have no interest in you at all. And he goes, yeah. He goes, straight men are used to that. He goes, but no, you don't get it. It's like you work so hard to get anything from them at all, and then you feel guilty and dirty if you do talk them into doing anything else. Oh yeah, we got that. And he said, anyway, Mark Norman said, anyway, we went back and forth about this, and I slept with him. so he proved him wrong that it was harder to. Anyway, so he just kind of goes in little misdirections too. Sam Morril is very much like him. I don't need to go into his so much, but and they have a podcast together called We Might Be Drunk, and they're a perfect pairing for that.
Huh.
So that's Mark Norman and Sam Morril.
Interesting. Those are two that I have not heard.
So. They're really good. They're two really hot ones now. I would say those are two. I starred my 10 favorite, and those two are both in it, and Nate Bargatze is in it too.
Yeah, well, on the clean ones, I've talked with Brian Reagan a few times, and I think
I love Brian Reagan.
Yeah, I think he's usually pretty funny. I think it would for me it would certainly be harder to be as funny being totally clean.
Right.
And I just think it's a tougher thing for comedians.
It is. You just have to have an intellectual edge, and you have to have different situations that aren't just raunch. Yeah. But so you need to still surprise people and don't give them children's hour or something like that.
Well, James Gregory, who I always thought was funnier than the other Southern comedians, I saw him a couple of times, and he was basically a storyteller.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I really like about. I mean, that's classic stuff. You know, Andy Griffith. When Andy Griffith started out, he was a stand-up comedian who was basically telling stories.
Right.
And the same thing with James Gregory. He starts out, he tells you a funny story, and then at the end of the show, it all wraps back around to that first funny story, and he nails it with something that is hilarious.
Right. Because
you've realized that he set you up all the way through to get to that final punchline.
Right. It's not just a stream of jokes or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got storytellers on this list too.
How many lists do you have, Chuck?
Well, I've got.
You said you had 3.
No, I said I didn't do 3. See, that's the cliche. Is I always do 3 parts because I always in my mind I'm going to do 10 minutes on this, 10 minutes on that, and it's like so impractical to go into this way.
Yeah.
So, but I do have storytellers. I have Michelle Buteau from New Jersey. She's a woman of color. Mm-hmm. She married a Dutch guy and had children, and there's a whole lot of culture clash stories in her routines. Big J. Okerson, do you know him?
No.
He's also in his 40s. He's from Philadelphia. He's big old bruiser guy.
Yeah.
And as you might expect from his name, he has a great story about losing his virginity at the Holiday Inn to an older woman who was more experienced, and how he went from being really... She had an Enigma CD. She brought a boombox and an Enigma CD. So it was the singing months, and it starts with him being really nervous, and then it starts getting good, and then it ends in absolute disaster. Mm-hmm. I can't go into it, and I wouldn't want to steal his thunder there either. But and then Jim Jeffries, he might be my favorite comedian up there with Nate. Huh. And he's from Australia. Yeah. I love his accent. I love the way he uses his accent. I love that he seems like a dunderhead, but he's actually way smarter than that. And he's got 2 stories I got to tell on him. So I'm going to drop stories on these other people. But one is he goes to Amsterdam and he's trying to do some tourist things in between shows. And he's going to go to the Anne Frank house. And instead he goes to this big sex warehouse, like with toys. So he buys a sex toy and takes it back to his room. And it's an insane disaster. And at the end of that, he's just in this mess and everything. He's like, should have gone to the Anne Frank house.
No, who's the comedian? We were listening one time in your car, and there was another comedian who was talking about going and getting sex toys. That was, God, I don't think it was Mark Maron, but it was somebody who was kind of like in that realm.
Maybe. And
it was hilarious and one of the foulest things I've ever heard.
It may be this Jim Jeffries, I'll tell you.
Is he that old? Has he been around for...
This would have been
15 years ago.
He's 47, so about 15... I don't know if he was... I don't know. But it could well be him, because this was a foul mess that he was in that hotel room afterward.
That sounds familiar. That may
he had another one. Maybe you'll remember this. Is like he was in, I think Johannesburg or Cape Town. I think it was Johannesburg, and he's from Australia, but he was in South Africa touring or whatever. And one of his friends is gay, so they went to a gay club.
Right.
And he's a drug user. He was then. He's married and has a kid now and all that. But there was a guy there. It wasn't his friend, but another guy said, hey, come with me in the bathroom and we'll do some cocaine. So he's like, all right, let's go do cocaine. So the guy goes in the stall, and then he follows him in the stall, and the guy's got his pants down. And he goes, oh, did you want to, the guy said, oh, did you want to do the cocaine first? And he goes, oh, I only wanted to do cocaine. So anyway, foul stuff. But he's a good storyteller. Let's see. I think I've got a couple of others. Keegan-Michael Key. He's from Key and Peele. Yeah. He's a great storyteller, and more so than punchlines. Anyway, that's a special kind of comedy because you got to pay attention a little bit, but the payoff is often bigger than, like Dimitri Martin is the opposite of that. He's like one-liner. It's brilliant. It's genius. You can miss a couple, and he'll just bring it right back. So anyway.
That's like, let's go back to dead people again. Rodney Dangerfield, who was really funny, just with like one-liner.
Yeah.
And actually...
Didn't Don Rickles do that too?
Yeah. Don Rickles was Fowler, and he was really funny too. But Rodney Dangerfield, what was cool with him is, I think people kind of wrote him off in the 60s. He wasn't like... Henny Youngman was the king of the one-liners, and I never thought Henny Youngman was funny. But Rodney Dangerfield, at the end of his life, kind of people picked up on him, and he started being in movies, and his movie Easy Money with Joe Pesci is really funny.
Didn't he do Ladybugs or something?
Yeah, he did some other more family-friendly stuff, but the non-family, it's the non-family friendly stuff that he did that was hilarious.
Yeah. But, all right, let me see if I got more straight dudes to talk about here. Dan Soder, do you know him?
I don't know Dan Soder. That's a new one.
He has a whole bit about he gets sexual too, but he has a whole bit about spending a week with his 88-year-old grandmother and how she just talked bluntly about death all the time, and it freaked him out. But he's really good. I don't know. That may be it for that category because most of the others fall in some other category.
Who I liked much better after I saw him and after I talked to him was Ralphie May.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought Ralphie May was just, this is kind of a, big, heavy-set guy, whatever. Yeah. He was he was great to talk to. He was super nice. And, once you talk to him, you realize, no, all these things he talks about really did happen.
Right.
He told me this story, and then he had it in his routine about he had some medicinal weed in his luggage leaving California and going someplace, and he goes over and he pets the drug sniffing dog. And this really happened. He went over to pet the dog, and the dog was like,
out then?
Yeah, the dog's like, oh, this guy's got weed. So he got arrested for his weed because he likes dogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, he played in Knoxville several times. He was great. I thought he was very underrated for what he did. I underrated him.
I agree. There's another one, Gabriel Iglesias, who isn't as funny. He's more what you expect Ralphie May to be. And when they just kind of turn the shtick on themselves, it's funny, but in a more limited amounts. I don't want to listen to half an hour of Gabriel Iglesias. But Ralphie May could pull it off.
Yeah,
better.
Ralphie. That was the thing, is he was very human, and he was like, all of it was real, and it was kind of surprising.
Is he no longer with us?
No, he died of a heart attack.
Yeah, he was a big guy.
Yeah, he was a very big guy.
Yeah, so it was Fluffy. That's what Gabriel Iglesias calls himself.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I remember that.
And he's not bad. I'm not hosing him, but I'm just saying he's more what you expect.
Well, do you like the comedians who play characters on stage? Back when I was young, we were both young. Emo Phillips was a character.
I interviewed Emo Phillips and Judy Tenuta.
Judy Tenuta was hilarious. And she just
they were a couple for a while.
You're kidding.
No, and they lived together. And when I interviewed them, I'm like, wait a minute. This is it wasn't the same number, but it was like they followed each other into town. They were just like a month apart or whatever, and they were a couple in Chicago.
I didn't know that.
Which was weird because they were both such strange characters.
I thought Judy Tenuta was way funnier than Emo Phillips.
Yeah. Well, he would be things, he'd do stuff like, I went down, to the playground and watched the kids jump around. They don't know I'm shooting blanks, and stuff like that. It's kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah. But Judy Tenuta was far more of a character. And one of her big things, she always talked about this fat woman named Blowzanne. Mm-hmm. And that was Roseanne, because Roseanne, she claims, had stolen her material and was doing a lot of her comedy.
Believe that.
She had to, I can believe it too. And she was funny. She would, I got to spend time with her, on the phone, and then when she came to town, I got to hang out with her.
Oh, cool!
And she was one of the ones that you enjoy being around. As far as characters, some of them, like I was saying about Mulaney, he kind of is a character, but not really, a specific character. But this reminded me of this guy, and I don't know if he fits or not, but it's this guy named Nick Vatterott, and I don't even have that much information on him, but he's so offbeat. And one time I was listening, and I was on the interstate, and he was doing a routine about changing channels on the TV, and it was like going from a game to an infomercial and it was like all of this stuff, and it just got more and more and more intense. Mm-hmm. I was laughing so hard I almost wrecked, and I had to pull over in the emergency lane and stop because I was tearing up and I couldn't breathe, and it was just crazy, over the top. And he's like that. Everything he does is just hold on, because you don't know where it's going to go.
Well, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if either of you have ever listened to Firesign Theater.
Oh, yeah.
I was kind of tied into the point I was talking to before, is that if it's a stand-up routine on a recording, you'll listen to it like once or twice, and that's probably all you'll do. But Firesign Theater, the recording studio was their medium, and so they multi-tracked all kinds of stuff. And the most famous of theirs is called "Don't Crush That Dwarf, Hand Me the Pliers." And the whole theme of that movie is changing channels on a television set. There's all kinds of like infomercials, and then like the movie of the day about George Leroy, tire biter. And it's really, really funny. And don't crush that dwarf, hand me the 12.
Yeah, I like that. One thing I don't like so much is like the Jerky Boys, the phone prankers.
Well, it depends on those.
What was it, Crank Yankers on MTV?
Yeah.
Well, they were all copying John Bean.
Well, I mean, it happened before John Bean, but John Bean was the master. And John Bean was a local guy. I mean,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He lived...
I don't know him.
A few miles from where I grew up. And I know it's probably his sister, Betty Bean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, John Bean, and people were telling me about his tapes. Like, I would interview musicians, and they'd say, "Is this the whoop-ass tape guy? Is he's down there somewhere?" And I said,
"How big is that? How big a boy are you?"
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, my boots got a little damp. How'd that happen? Well, goddamn, water.
But that's the great thing about him was he's just this guy who just started recording his prank phone calls for fun, and then after he died, one of his friends made copies for everybody at his memorial service.
Mm-hmm. And then those people made copies.
And they made copies, and then Todd Steed started selling them out of Raven Records when he worked at Raven Records. But they were all over the world. People were asking me about him, and I didn't know what they were talking about. And then it's like, oh, it's John Bean.
Well, he knew how to get them going. He'd get them really wound up, and then you don't have to get all mad now. And he'd calm them back down and get them talking again, and then he'd get them all wound up.
Yeah, he was Johnny Knoxville's biggest influence. Johnny Knoxville.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they finally put out all of the whoop-ass tapes that exist. I wish they could find some more. But those are absolutely hilarious. I mean, he could have been a stand-up guy if he was in a different situation, but he's just the master of the phone prank.
Right.
But great stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well,
wait, before we go to characters,
okay.
I wanted to bring up Jim Brewer.
Okay.
Who always seems like a total stoner guy on stage.
Right. He played the goat on Saturday Night Live, Goat Boy.
Yeah, I think it was Goat Boy he played, yeah. But he always acts like he's stoned, and I don't think he's ever really stoned. But he always seems really funny.
Right.
And then there's Lewis Black.
Okay.
Who plays the angry man.
Yeah.
And I talked to him about...
If he was that angry all the time, he'd be dead.
Oh, yeah. He's an old hippie.
Okay.
When I talked to him, we were talking about, he I think he went to Woodstock, but he was like a long-haired hippie guy, and he just came up with this angry man character that took off, and he can say whatever he wants to say in the angry man character, and he's hilarious.
Okay.
Speaking of stoner comics, one of my favorites is Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, yeah.
Really funny.
Another dead one.
Yep.
Yeah, he's funny. Yeah.
Another dead
one.
Chuck.
It's a lethal career.
I'm promoting living people, or at least I am at this point. We don't know what's going to happen to them once this goes out there. I tend to kill people I talk about, as we realize.
I keep asking you to talk about certain people, and you just won't do it.
No, I don't want to kill them all.
But yeah, I mean, Mitch Hedberg and then Stephen Wright is kind of in the same league as that, where they say these things that are so ironic and so true, and you're just like, oh.
It's kind of a thinker.
Yeah.
Do you all know Kyle Kinane?
No.
He's kind of in the same vein as those two. He's been around for a while, and he's actually one of my favorite straight male comics, too. So I missed him here. But he's from Illinois, and he's got this kind of gruff voice and this kind of beat down personality, but he's always like sort of fighting back. But he's very, very endearing.
Yeah.
And he said, like I heard one, he's talking about being a prude, and he found out he was a prude, and he said it was because he was petting a cat one time, and the cat was like taking it, and purring and coming up to him, and then as he was petting the cat, it got more and more like aggressive with him. And she goes, next thing I know, this cat's butt's up in my face. And I just felt like this wasn't consensual at all anymore. But he's great. And he's definitely one of my favorite. I would recommend him, especially if you like what Mitch Hedberg and who was the other one that just,
Stephen Wright.
Yeah. He's not quite as deadpan as Stephen Wright, but he's just that. He's very approachable kind of a guy. I actually saw him at the Lenox Square in Atlanta one time. Just said, what's he doing at a mall? Because he just never seemed like anyone who would be at a place like that.
Well, it's funny. I'm going to be I've got a lot of straight white guys on here.
Okay, well, I'm running out of them, so we're going to be getting to the feminists and the people of color and the gays pretty soon.
Well, yeah, okay.
And other categories that include straight white guys. But go ahead.
Well, I think he's dead, but you got to at least acknowledge George Carlin, who's influenced everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And was one of the first guys to really, he was in the tradition of Lenny Bruce in bringing up very serious subjects and being as much social commentary as he was funny. He made you laugh.
He was always kind of like a professor type, teaching people lessons and making people think.
He went through a stage there toward the end where he got really mean.
Oh, did he?
Well, there's a lot of people comedians who get bitter, and it's hard. You may bring her up later. I can't really find Hannah Gatsby funny.
I do have her down here. One thing what did I say about her though? She I have her as just offbeat.
And she's offbeat, but I just can't. She's gone through a lot of trauma, and she's autistic.
Yep.
And she's got all these things going on, and I can enjoy watching her, but I don't laugh.
Right. Hey, did you see I think my favorite bit of hers is where she talks about having autism and how she tortured one of her teachers in school, and like she contradicted everything the teacher said, but she was always right, with her contradiction, and it was pretty funny, but she's kind of no nonsense. And there was, she did something where she was, she's a lesbian too.
Right.
And I think it was a fellow, she started getting a lot of hate from other lesbians.
Yeah.
And there was one who said, just come out as trans already. And she goes, I have nothing against trans. She's from Tasmania.
Right.
Nothing. She goes, nothing about trans, but I'm not one of them. So, but she's not one of my favorite, but she's interesting because I think I think she has ADHD as well as autism, and the way she manufactures that is a different brand of humor, and she is a little more biting than others. Wow.
Yeah. Well, since we kind of went over to that, I want to bring up Lily Tomlin, who was one of the first people I saw in concert as a comedian in concert.
Okay.
And I thought Lily was absolutely hilarious and at the time very, very, very different from everybody else out there. She came up with characters and stuff, but she was a little bit like Stephen Wright, where the first thing she said is, yesterday I went to the store and I bought a trash can. And they put it in a bag. And when I got home, I put the bag in the trash can.
Well, now, she also had that album, and I don't remember, but you
Modern Scream. We both love it.
And it's please stop talking about that cake.
And she's also got Sister Boogie Woman on there. She's talking about, the old people are writing to Sister Boogie Woman asking for advice, and she says, Sister Boogie Woman, me and my boyfriend are in the nursing home, and every time we start to get it on, they open the door on us. And Sister Boogie Woman says, do it with the door open. But when she came out on stage, the first thing she did was she came out and she fell flat on her face. Just bam!
Really?
Fell down.
Okay.
And then we're all like,
Right.
Is this real?
Right.
And then she stands up and she looks at the audience kind of mad and she says, I noticed nobody got up to help me.
Now, is it her girlfriend or her wife?
Jane Wagner, they were partners. I don't think they ever got married. She was from either Morristown. I think it's Morristown or Maryville.
I was going to say Morristown or Maryville. It started with an M.
I think it's Morristown.
Yeah.
But Jane Wagner they met because, and I talked to Lily. She was as nice as I hoped she would be. She was great. But Lily tracked her down because she saw a special that Jane Wagner wrote, like a Christmas. It was the most depressing Christmas show you've ever seen, about a little kid in the ghetto who finds a cat called JT. And Lily liked it so much, she tracked her down, and then they became a couple. Huh. But Jane became like her main writer. And when Lily she won a Tony for her Broadway thing, Searching for Intelligent Life. I can't remember. On Earth or something. I can't remember how it was.
Yeah.
But Jane Wagner was basically the writer of that.
Okay.
And Lily was, last time I saw her, she was not nearly as funny, but I'm not sure. She and Jane, I think, had broken up.
Oh, really? Because I thought they were together for the longest time.
They were, but I don't think they are now. They may be back together, but at least they went on a hiatus. I know that.
Okay. Well, other women in the LGBT, we'll just bridge
Let's
on
just go
into
right
that.
over there.
You know, Taylor Tomlinson, she was straight, and she was actually the girlfriend of Sam Morril, who was the one who has the podcast with Mark Norman. And now she's, anyway, she's 31. She's got the After Midnight show on CBS, and now she's exploring her bisexuality and talking about the differences between dating men and dating women. And she said, I don't know if I'm bisexual or if I just binged your Euphoria for too long or too fast. And then Sam J, do you know her? She's a comedian from Atlanta. She presents as very masculine, but she talks openly about having sex with men before she started having sex with women, and how she didn't enjoy it, but they were her friends, so she was always trying to do a good job. You know? That's kind of a refreshing way to tackle that. Let's see. I think as far as there's Mae Martin, who uses they them, and from Toronto. And Mae had a bisexual relationship with Elliot Page, Ellen Page before. And now, this is really interesting. I believe they're still together. She's in a relationship with Parvati Shallow of Survivor. She was one of the old villains of Survivor. And
I remember her.
Yeah. She flirted with all the guys, the really hot ones. So Mae and Parvati are an item now. So that's kind of interesting. I had a couple of guys here, Mateo Lane and Joel Kim Booster. Mateo Lane is kind of a very accessible gay guy who does a lot of grinder jokes and stuff like that, but he's very digestible. And Joel Kim Booster, somehow I think his family was from South Carolina too, and he was adopted from South Korea by a white evangelical conservative Southern Baptists and blah blah blah, and so he didn't know anything about South Korea, and anyway, he just says something like, I knew I was gay long before I knew I was Asian. He didn't even know what that was.
That's pretty good.
But yeah.
Do you have Fortune Feimster?
Oh yeah, I could talk. Yeah, she's from North Carolina. You like her?
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she hosts one of the shows I like to listen to. She
had some jokes about being a Gold Star girl.
Oh yeah, never been with a guy.
Never been with a man.
Girl is.
Oh really?
So yeah, it's a lesbian thing, and I guess gay guys too. It's like if you've never been with someone of the other gender, then you're a Gold Star.
Huh? I've never heard that one.
And then there's feminist Michelle Wolf. You remember her?
I like Michelle
and
Wolf.
She's like 39. She's I love it. She does like this kind of, and she's got this loud, abrasive voice, so you just have to brace yourself for it. But you get into it, and she goes through this feminine rant, and it's a feminist rant, and it's like, you shouldn't be selfish. You should have children, but don't take time off work because you've got to show you're committed to work. And you should breastfeed your child because that's the best thing for your baby. But if you're going to do something so trashy as that, do it under a bridge like the other trolls. And God, for God's sake, go home to your husband and have sex with him. And could you smile for once? So she goes into all the demands of being a woman and trying to have it both ways. And that's her thing. She makes jokes about having it both ways. I was going to go into some, like, I don't go into much detail on this, but people who've had hardships and they've made that part of their comedy routines.
Like
and
Tig You're going to talk about Tig.
Tig's one of them. Yeah,
okay.
Tig Notaro. She has a very dry delivery. She reminds me of Margaret Smith from a long time ago. I interviewed Margaret when I saw Tig. It's like, wow, this is the same person all over again.
Margaret Smith,
but
I like Tig.
Yeah, Tig's great. She's got a very gentle soul,
Yeah.
And she had breast cancer and she had a double mastectomy, and I guess it was on HBO or whatever. But she took her shirt off, and it's just kind of this kind of breathtaking but bold, like she's is that a topless woman that has to be censored? And she's very very pointed. But she's very good. Mike Birbiglia, he had bladder cancer when he was young, and he also has a sleepwalking.
Fell out of a hotel room. window.
Walked through a plate glass window.
Wow.
And he's got this kind of loopy, sort of dopey, sleepy character. I really like him.
I like him too.
When he talks, it just. I instantly feel relaxed. Maria Bamford.
I was going to mention her. She's great. She's I just discovered her.
Yeah. Oh, she's fantastic. And she's got but she has a bipolar 2 disorder, and she's had some other, I don't know if it's psychosis or neurosis, but she
plays up I'm a little bit crazy.
Yeah, and she does all these different characters, too.
Right.
And she does her mom better than anybody. But there was one thing she did, I don't know why, but it's just so typical of the kind of conversation she has. So, one day I decided I was going to take the bus to go see my sister. And my sister calls and says, Maria, when are you coming over? And she goes, I'm on the bus. She goes, you're on the bus? Oh, my God, what's wrong? She goes, nothing. She goes, is there something wrong with your car? And she's, no, I'm just on the bus. And she goes, Maria, are you okay? She goes, no.
I just watched a Maria Bamford thing last night on YouTube where I think it was done during the pandemic, and she's doing her live comedy routine in her living room for her mom and dad.
Yeah.
And she does her mom.
She does her mom so good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, I think they're from Minnesota, in just that Midwestern, and she makes her mom the most irritating person in the world, but someone who would drive kids to, have some kind of disorder. The other hardship I wanted to mention was Patton Oswalt. His wife died suddenly in 2016, and they had a 7-year-old daughter, and he took her home for Christmas, and this is good storytelling, so I can't capture it right, but he's talking about taking his daughter, to escape and to not think about mom or anything like that. And then they're encountered by some elderly or older flight attendant or something like that. He's like, oh, I'm just so proud of you for what you've gone through is so terrible. Just like was derailing everything, and so he was like losing it, but in a funny way. So, he recovered too.
And he's somebody that, I mean, you can read his posts where he puts stuff up in social media, and he can be really funny, but he is really, really human. I mean, he comes across as, man, I'd like to sit down and just hang out with this guy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's it seems approachable. I didn't mention Ali Wong among the.
You got to mention Ali Wong, my girlfriend. That's my.
I love her.
Favorite.
She's from San Francisco. She's 42. Her parents are Vietnamese and Chinese. And she just has such great. It's feminist. It's raunchy. It's raw. She's pregnant at one point.
That's one of the. I was about to say, watching her special where she's really pregnant. Is like it's so disconcerting because she is being so crude.
Yes,
and you
I know.
See pregnant women,
and you just see this big belly, and she's a smallish woman otherwise.
Yeah,
so just this big exaggerate. But one of my favorite lines of hers is I think her husband was in. Medical school or something like that, and she said I would pack his lunch every day, and she said I wasn't doing it for him, I was doing it to make him dependent on me. And he wouldn't even know how to make his own lunch. She said he was going to be a doctor, so I wanted him to be dependent on me and not replace me. And anyway, she's really good too.
Yeah, she was really funny. That's one of Sarah and I first got together. That was one of the things that I had to watch. I had to watch an Ali Wong special.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Then there's a couple of women I think are similar. Leslie Jones, who's from Memphis.
Yeah.
Very manic, very high energy. You should look up. She's in a fake commercial where you can hire her to come and stop people from ruining Thanksgiving dinner. Have you seen that?
I've seen that.
She just stops people. And then there's one woman sitting next to her at one point. Most people, she stops and she goes, "We're not here to hear about this. We're not here to talk about this." And then she coaches the children on how to deal with it. And there's one woman, "I just have to say about the trans issue." And she goes, "Ah!" And every time the woman tries to talk, she goes, "Ah!" It just creeps right in her head. And then Tiffany Haddish, who's like 10 or so years. You don't know Tiffany Haddish. She broke, but she used to live in her car, and she's been in a lot of movies. And she was like really hot for a while and was in every movie. But she's got a good comedic style, and she's more of a storyteller too. But she's kind of like a slightly watered down younger sister of Leslie Jones, and both of them are awesome.
Well, I'll tell you the one I want to see stand up by, because I've started watching The Daily Show again. I'd stopped watching it for a long time. Desi Lydic is like,
yep, she's funny.
She shines on that show. She is really funny. She's got that like just sarcastic enough edge when she delivers the Daily Show stick. I think I'm sure she must be a stand-up, but I haven't seen any of her stand-up stuff. But she's great on the Daily Show.
Well, what do you think of Amy Schumer?
See, I like Amy Schumer.
I do too.
And she's crude and she's nasty. And she is crude and nasty in a way that most women comedians even aren't.
Right. She's really smart. I had Jimmy Carr down too from Britain, who's really smart, and you don't realize it because he can be real crude and everything. But Amy Schumer, it was the who was it? Charlie Sheen roast. She comes out punching it at Mike Tyson, and she goes, "You got a tramp stamp on the side of your face," And she's just like going in on him, and she's going in on everybody. But my favorite is what she says to Jeffrey Ross. She goes, "You're dressed up like some kind of guy who's hitting it with the women." She goes, "But I know why women would sleep with you." She goes, "I would sit on your face just so I wouldn't have to look at it." So
I mean, that's the thing I like about her is it's like no holds barred, and I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't like her is they just can't handle this, this blonde woman.
Well, she's got confidence, and the thing about it is she's not beautiful, and she acknowledges that. She goes, "Oh, I'm kind of a 4 in L.A.,
but her personality makes her more attractive."
Exactly. And I think that was the movie Trainwreck that she was in. I mean, she was playing off the, she's not the hot girl.
No.
But, she's not awful, but, she's like kind of Midwestern, okay.
A little pudgy in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And, but I think but so many people,
But it's the smartness, and I know how you are too.
Yeah.
Smart wins out over anything for you.
You know? It really, I mean, it's like, it's one of the kind of the jokes is like, a woman who's like physically a 10 and says something really stupid goes down to a 2.
Yeah.
And, a 2 can go up to, at least an 8, if not a 10 when they're smart.
Right. When they're smart. And I think there's some of that in Nikki Glaser too. She's raunchier than just about anybody. But she's attractive, but she's just like real blunt. But and it's hard to determine, whenever you're watching a comic and everything, but sometimes you just start seeing this underlying smartness there that they're not revealing at all there, and they're not flaunting it, but it just, punches them up.
Yeah, I think intelligence, I mean, that's to me, that's one of the most attractive things in the world, and in comedians who are already funny. I mean, comedians are generally smart anyway, but when you can just see how they've put it all together, man, it's impressive as all get out.
And they all do it so differently, and they all do it in a way that you can kind of see a bit of who they are.
Well, I mean, somebody who is classically not attractive is Kristen Squall. How do you pronounce her name? I can't remember her last name.
From Bob's Burgers?
Yeah, I mean, she was in Flight of the Conchords.
But she's hilarious.
She is so funny, and she seems so smart.
Shaw.
That's how you pronounce her name. I think, to me, I mean, she's got that goofy look, but I think she's incredibly attractive just because how funny and smart she is.
Yeah. Yeah, you like that. You like the brains.
Yeah. But
Sarah must be a very smart woman.
she is a very smart woman. She's also very pretty, but she's,
Yes, I've seen the pictures.
but she's very
You
smart.
got a winner there. Don't screw it up, Wayne.
What do you think of Jessica Williams? You know who I'm talking about?
I don't know who you're talking about.
I think she was on. I'm not sure if she was on Saturday Night Live, but she's in the comedy Shrinking that's on Apple TV right now with Jason Segel and Harrison Ford, and she is hilarious in this, and she's super smart. And yeah, Jessica Williams.
All right.
And also Emily Catalano. Have you heard of her?
I don't know.
I've heard of her.
Just discovered her. She's this kind of, looks like she hadn't bathed in a while. She's kind of plain looking, but really smart. And she said I was an atheist, but I told you this line. She said, I was an atheist, but I decided to change to agnostic because I want people to like me. She said, when I went home and came out to my parents as agnostic, they were like, well, does that mean you're going to hell? And she said, I don't think so. And they said, oh, thank God. And she said, well, maybe. She's really funny.
Well, the only time I've mentioned Wanda Sykes was to say she's my favorite comedian, but I gotta say, my favorite routine of all time from any comedian is Wanda Sykes going to the strip club.
Okay.
And she talks about going to she says, guys will just look at anything. It doesn't matter. They don't care. You go to the nastiest strip club in the world, and she just stands there and she lifts a leg and says, just look at it. And seeing her do that, I thought I was going to hyperventilate the first time I saw that routine.
I remember when she was talking about being a parent and how they had parentless friends who were talking about going, on big vacations and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, so I bring my daughter over and, she just got braces. So I'm like, show them Jamaica, honey.
Yeah, I love that one too.
Yeah, I like Wanda Sykes.
Yep.
She's good.
But
Well, I don't know about you, but I've burned through my list here.
I got a couple.
Okay,
Go ahead, go
keep
for
going.
I always really love him. He's not working anymore, but back in the day was Jake Johansson.
Yeah,
He had that sort of halting kind of delivery that I found very attractive.
Yeah,
I saw this. It's a group, Flight of the Conchords.
yeah.
Saw them live at Bonnaroo. That was the first time they'd ever played in the States. And I remember watching them going, this is not really funny, but it's weird.
Right.
And the show debuted that day on HBO. And
wow.
watching the show, now the show is hilarious.
Yeah,
I
it
love
is.
their show.
Yeah.
And also Conan O'Brien. I think he's hilarious.
Okay.
Really?
He's done some when he had his late night show. Occasionally, he would take a week and take one of his producers and go to Italy or he went to Haiti. He went to and he went to Cuba. The one where he goes to Cuba is hilarious, and he makes himself the butt of all the jokes.
So he goes out in the streets then?
Yeah, he interviews people. He tours the place. He's got a show. Since he's quit doing the late night thing, he's got a thing. I don't know what channel it's on, but it's called Conan Must Go.
Okay.
And it's just him traveling to places. And for example, he goes to Scotland, which is where his family's from.
Right.
And he has the best kilt maker in the world make him a kilt, and he comes out in this. He just makes himself the butt of the joke all the time, and it's so funny.
That. Yeah, you got to be able to do that.
We didn't mention Eddie Izzard.
Yeah.
In the LGBTQ, he's be a T, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he's trans.
But he's
so
hilarious.
He's a she, so
there's a whole bit he does about Engelbert Humperdinck, about how Engelbert Humperdinck came up with his name, and he's trying out all these other names. He just spouts off all these absurd names over and over. Humperdinck, it just comes up with these. And finally, they land on Engelbert. He says, "Wait a minute, I believe that one's the right one." And he's really smart. He's a historian, and he knows all kinds of history stuff.
I was trying to remember. Eddie is trans now, a trans woman, right? Because
I think he's just a transvestite.
Okay.
No, it's.
I think that's more of a recent thing.
Yeah, it is.
It was always, Eddie Izzard is just wearing women's clothes, and he's just.
And they made that TV show, The Riches, where they based the boy character on him, who was just a cross dresser.
Right.
But Eddie Izzard now, I'm pretty sure is,
and it might even be Edie Izzard or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
and they ran 50 marathons back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
Raising money. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And then one other. It's not really a comedian, but he surrounds himself with the funniest people in the world, and that's Christopher Guest.
Oh, yeah.
All of his movies he's got.
Oh,
Catherine O'Hara, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, Eugene Levy, Billy Crystal, Jane Lynch.
Michael.
it goes.
He's got
Jane Lynch. Yeah.
And the thing that I like about him is that he has these. He'll film a scene and he'll say, "You're starting in this position and you end the scene in this position, but how you get there, that's up to you." And
Right.
and the actors are all ad-libbing and they're trying to crack each other up, and the humor is just genuinely hilarious.
All those movies are funny.
And those movies come with enough outtakes because they're all improvised. They have to cut things out. Like the Spinal Tap on DVD has a whole separate CD of just outtakes, and I've watched that so many times that I don't know which was in the actual movie and which wasn't. But anyway.
Well, the secret there is, casting to be able to count on your cast to be able to improv. You know, so.
Well, Catherine O'Hara is just truly hilarious.
She certainly is.
Schitt's Creek, she was just amazing in that.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't mentioned also, just, for top greatest comedians, Richard Pryor, who I would put as the greatest comedian of all time.
Okay.
And we haven't mentioned Steve Martin.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a great documentary about him.
Yeah, the documentary is really good.
It's 2-parters. Like each part is 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And so the first part is all just about his rise to stardom, and he got to be about as big as a comedian can get.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, packing stadiums and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he just stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And decided, I'm going to make movies now.
Right.
Yeah. And
of course, he's doing the Martin Short. They're such a great pair.
They're great together.
So I like them in the What Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah. And then there's Dave Chappelle, who I think his comedy show, his television show, is maybe the best comedy television show that's ever been on TV.
Okay.
You don't like it?
I don't like Dave Chappelle.
You don't?
I was hoping we would get through this. I didn't want to.
You can't not mention Dave Chappelle. I mean, I
don't like Dave Chappelle. I like Dave Chappelle in the show when it first came on, and we all talked about his show, and we looked forward to it, and it was great, and it was innovative, and it was funny. And then it seemed like it kind of lost its steam and everything. And I don't know what happened to him. He had some kind of meltdown or breakdown, and I don't know if it was ever settled, if it was a mental breakdown or some kind of drug thing or something like that. But no, he is the one. If he comes up on my radio, I turn him off right away. Because if I can explain, it's like there's something so disingenuous about him. And I can't read anything about him. And I feel like whenever I see him, he's just trying to be a provocateur or something like this. And this is before the trans stuff that came up.
Right.
Kind of hit him and everything. It's like, I just feel completely disconnected from him. And he just seems like a fake. And he's like I say, he's the only one. So I don't want this to be remembered as like, Chuck doesn't like Dave Chappelle. But
I will say this. When I saw him in concert here, he was not very funny. Knoxville's a terrible place for comedians to perform because we have hecklers that are just assholes.
Right.
And he didn't know how to deal with a heckler. And the whole show just went off track, and it was not funny.
Right.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
It was terrible. But
some of that's his fault.
A lot of it was his fault because he didn't deal with it.
Yeah.
And I've seen comedians and musicians.
That's it.
Else.
I'm always nervous. It's like I don't know what's really going on with him, But and then the trans thing didn't help because it's kind of like, you thought, well, he's going to say, well, look, this is just humor and blah blah blah. But he just doubled down instead. And you were talking about punching down. I mean, that's the most punch down on group, and then. Without any, and a lot of these comics I've mentioned have made, kind of trans, like tread around that in a way or anything. But it's just, I was already off of him anyway, and that just put me more off of him. And just the more I see him or hear him, the more it's like, I don't like this guy at all.
Well, the special where he talks about that had some funny parts, but overall it wasn't funny. It was more like, defending himself. But I will say, for the show, part of what made that so funny is Paul Mooney was one of his writers. Paul Mooney was also one of Richard Pryor's writers.
I loved the show, especially the first season. I don't know how many seasons it was. First season or two, and we'd come in and we'd recount every bit of it. Yeah. But I knew it was some kind of team. It wasn't all him that made that show.
No. Paul Mooney is one of the main writers, and he has always been hilarious. Okay. He died, I think, a couple of years ago. But he was hilarious, and he wrote, like, the Saturday Night Live show that Richard Pryor hosted. he was like, he became kind of the lead writer on that, and the people at Saturday Night Live hated him because of it.
Right.
But he was hilarious.
Right. Yeah, anyway. I was going to say that, Matt Rife is too young, and Russell Brand, I don't get it, and Gabriel Iglesias and Joe Coy are a little too over the top for me, but the one I don't like at all is Dave Chappelle. And I thought, we're going to get out of here without that coming up, because there's so many people who really defend him.
Well, but, I mean, he became the biggest comic in the country.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. So.
And like I said, the last time I saw him in concert, he was not very funny, and I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
And you can't just blame it all on the crowd, because other comedians know how to handle it.
They know how to handle it, or they work around it, or they just, if you're just funny, then the laughter will drown out the hecklers, and the rest of the crowd will shut up the hecklers for you. So
okay, all right. I just wanted to get those in. We can.
Okay.
We had some others. That,
Richard Pryor was great though, and whoever else he mentioned, all great. All those old dead people were fantastic.
I think Richard Pryor. I mean, I still think he is the funniest
probably one of the
comedian.
top 3 at least of all time. Yeah. Steve Martin was great.
Steve Martin was great.